All right. Hello, everyone. I see some people coming in here. Welcome, everyone who is joining us. All right. Hello. We have 10 people in here so far. Welcome, welcome.
Welcome, welcome.
All right. In just a moment, we will get started. Make sure everyone is jumping on. All right. Well, we will go ahead and get started here. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our session, our follow-up session from the General Dual Enrollment Information Session. We are so excited to have you here this evening. My name is Caitlin Minch, and I am the Dual Enrollment Program Manager at Prince George's Community College. And I am working this semester with a number of the schools who do not have COAST coordinators, so you might be hearing from me soon. This evening, we have a wonderful presentation for you about transferring credits, right? So whether that is after you leave PGCC directly out of high school, or whether this is later after you attend PGCC and potentially earn your associate degree. We have a lot of wonderful information for you tonight. I would like to introduce my colleague, Ms. Crystal Williams. She is our dual enrollment student advisor extraordinaire. I'll allow her to introduce herself and tell us a little bit about herself.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Crystal Williams. I'm an academic and career advisor here at Prince George's Community College. And I am responsible for definitely, advising dual enrollment students. I've worked at the college since 2015 for 5 years, 5 great years. Formerly, I was the position was called a YCC coordinator. Youth Career Connect was a grant program that operated in the high school. So I do have some direct experience working with high school students, which is what made me a great fit for working with dual enrollment students. So welcome everybody. It's a pleasure to see you all this evening.
Yeah.
And oh, I'm sorry, were you going to say something, Caitlin?
Oh, I was just going to introduce our two students here. We have two wonderful students with us this evening who did dual enrollment with us while they were in high school. And then they attended Prince George's Community College after high school as well before transferring. And they are now off in the world pursuing their higher education outside of PGCC. So I'd like for them to introduce themselves. I'll have Miss Henriquez go first.
Hello, everybody. My name is Anna Henriquez. I'm currently a junior at the University of Maryland in College Park, and I did dual enrollment from my senior year of high school, and I graduated from PG this spring of 2020. And yeah, I'm just really happy to be here because I really love dual enrollment and like what it's done for me. So yeah, I'm excited.
Thank you. All right, do we have Miss Barnett here on the line as well? Can she introduce herself?
Hey everyone, I'm Tashika Barnett. I go to University of Maryland Global Campus. I also graduated in spring 2020. I'm super excited to be here and I really like talking about dual enrollment. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, thank you, ladies. Well, they will be here to help us potentially with some questions in the chat if you guys have questions. And then I know Miss Williams will call on you guys a couple of times for your input and your experience with transferring and with dual enrollment and Prince George's Community College in general. But I'll go ahead and turn it over to Miss Williams to go ahead with our main presentation.
Thank you, Caitlin. Okay, so I am going to share my screen. I have a presentation here, a PowerPoint that we will be looking at on transfer to a college or university, life after dual enrollment. Okay. So We just hope to demystify some of the things for you guys, especially as it pertains to transferring. I've had numerous students ask me, how do you transfer to another school? Like, ooh, okay, there's really not a lot to the process, believe it or not. Okay, it basically involves you requesting your official transcript from Prince George's Community College and requesting that it be sent directly to the school you're going to transfer to. Okay. And once that happens, your receiving institution they will evaluate the transcript. They basically hold all the cards. They determine what transfers in and how the courses transfer in. Now, I do have on my screen, the transcript can come directly from PGCC. Now, pre-COVID, sometimes students would be making a college visit to the other school. I don't think people are doing too many college visits right now. But the other method, would be if you were to pick up the transcript, which might be available by the time some of you graduate. You could pick it up from PGCC, but you must leave it sealed and unopened. That's the main thing. It must be sealed and unopened for the new school to consider it, to consider it official. Okay. And that's if you hand deliver it or if you are a pass through and remail it. Okay. Um, so that's basically what transfer is in a nutshell. The official transcript gets sent, it gets received, it gets evaluated, and then you get notified of how the course is transferring and what's going to transfer in. Okay, now on my next screen, I want to deal first with the Maryland public institutions. Okay, now when we say public, we're talking about the fact that these are institutions that receive state funds, state taxpayer funds, okay, as their primary source, of funding, basically. Okay, so we have the Maryland public universities. Now, I didn't name them all. I just named the most common ones that most of our students select. And we see some familiar ones listed: Bowie State. You have all of the UMDs. There's a University of Maryland, Baltimore County, Eastern Shore, Global Campus, which was formerly UMUC. Of course, the ever famous UMD College Park, okay, and so forth. Now, I put the community colleges on here because we do occasionally have students that do dual enrollment with us and end up transferring those credits to another community college. Now, there are a variety of reasons why students do this, and some of them are valid reasons. For example, I had a student tell me, I'm moving. My mother is moving. We're moving after the school year ends. We're moving to Montgomery County. Okay, and so that student was taking those credits on to Montgomery College. Okay, another student, basically one of our sister community colleges had a program that we did not offer. I believe dental hygiene, for example, is offered at Howard Community College. But I will say this though, okay, every degree always requires general education courses. So you could take those with us and then transfer. Okay, I will say another thing. By attending, if you're a PG County resident, by attending PG Community College, you do get an in-county discount, which is pretty significant. If you were to just go to, let's say, College of Southern Maryland or Anne Arundel, just because you had a friend going and I just want to go there to be with my friend, well, you would not get the in-county discount. Okay, so that's just something to keep in mind. Once you graduate, you want to get it, you really want to take advantage of our in-county discount. Okay, so moving to the next screen, let's talk about what makes up a degree. Now, I just mentioned every degree pretty much will require some general education. That's our degrees. That's degrees at other universities and other institutions. General education courses. Then you have the major program requirements. For example, if you're majoring in accounting, the accounting courses and everything directly related to accounting will be in those requirements. And then electives. And most students know electives, those are students' choice courses. Those are courses you choose because that's what you want to take. It could be a free elective, meaning you choose whatever you want, or they could be electives within a certain category, like a literature elective or, a history elective. Okay. So when we look at general education courses, these are courses that teach fundamental skills. And I always explain it to my students as these are courses that are designed to make you a well-rounded, educated adult. Okay. A lot of students say, well, why do I need to know this? Why do I need to know that? I'm studying engineering. Okay. Well, in order for a school to put their name on your diploma and certify you as a degreed student from that institution, you got to be able to write well. We want you to be able to speak well, to communicate well, to be able to compute, and to be cultured and refined and know a little bit about a variety of subjects. Okay, so all of those courses serve a purpose. Now, here's a biggie. Okay, the Maryland Higher Education Commission, which we are a part of, and all of the Maryland public institutions are a part of, well, we fall under their regulations. And they basically have said that any general education course you take at a Maryland community college is guaranteed to be accepted at any Maryland public college or university. Okay, as a general education course, meaning you won't take English here and then you go to Bowie and they tell you, oh, that's an elective. It will go over to satisfy a general education course. So that's a huge deal. You can rest assured what you take here, you will be able to take with you to any other Maryland public university or college. Okay, they will take the courses, as well as when we look at out of state too. Now, of course, we can't guarantee anything if you go into University of Hawaii, but we do stand by the transferability, generally speaking, of our courses.
And Ms. Williams, before you move on, can I ask Anna and Tashika to share what general education courses they may have taken while they were at PGCC, and if there were any of those courses that maybe surprised them in terms of things they maybe didn't think were going to be as useful in their studies and turned out to be more useful, or a good experience that they had in one of those courses. And let us know if you took these gen ed courses while you were in dual enrollment, or if they were something that you took after dual enrollment.
All right, so I know during dual enrollment, I knocked out my first English requirement. And my other classes that I took for dual enrollment were electives that ended up counting towards my bachelor's degree now. Even at University of Maryland, they've accepted all of them. So that's been really great because I kind of just got that out of the way super early on. So I haven't really had to think about my gen ed courses anymore. But I will say, like, my gen ed courses have been tremendously helpful in getting me to kind of navigate like what I wanted to do, because going into college, I didn't really know like exactly what I wanted to major in and what kind of career I wanted to go into. So I know like my English and writing courses especially got me super interested into writing, and so it's just helped me find like what I liked and what I didn't like.
Awesome. Thank you, Anna.
Great.
Tashika, are you able to share about your experience with gen ed courses?
Sure. So I also took psychology and sociology in my first year of dual enrollment, and I found that to be super helpful just to understand what courses that they had in college, just to dip my toe in it before fully going in. And Anna and we did speech together, and we found it was very, very important because you're always going to present presentations, and speech was definitely a platform and a foundation for us to like just to see what a college is like and how people interact when it comes on to presentation. So that was somewhat of like a beginner course for us. I also took philosophy, which was pretty decent, just to knock out some of those humanities, because they're definitely important for majority, of course, of majors that people want to do. So it's really good to start off with your gen eds first before actually taking a deep dive into the area of study that you want to do.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
That was great, ladies. And I co-sign that statement you just made. It's definitely recommended to start off with the general education courses, because like we said, every degree is going to require some. And those basics, English, definitely, your social science, history, even art appreciation, those kind of classes, they are extremely transferable. Okay, so we're going to go on, and just to kind of sum up this part, um, just some general tips for students who are going to transfer to a Maryland Public University. You can check the ARCIS online database, which we're going to talk about in on the next slide. Visit the institution's website. Take a look at the degree requirements for the major you're interested in. Check for transfer databases. Some schools have an actual transfer database of their own, which you can look through, and you can see specifically what transfers to that institution. Another thing that I wanted to add is pay attention to math requirements. What you're going to find is that not every math works for every major. Okay, there are some majors, like for example, your STEM majors, those majors usually want you to be on a calculus track. So if you take mathematical ideas, which is, it's a great math course, but it's not a calculus-based math course, then that course may not be as useful if you're looking for engineering, or computer science, or even biology, or there's some majors like psychology where they're looking for more of statistics, statistical type math. So you want to, as you're looking on these college websites, I just want you to zero in on that, and definitely pay close attention to math requirements, because that's one area where the math you took, the course may transfer, but it may not meet the degree requirement. Okay. So I'm starting with ARTSIS. Now, ARTSIS is a database that all of the Maryland colleges and universities participate in. It stands for Articulation System for Maryland Colleges and Universities. This database is on the web, and there's the address for it. And basically, each college updates their own information to this database. They put data in there about what will transfer to them. Okay, for example, Bowie State, Coppin State, all of the universities are in there. All of the community colleges are in there. And this is really set up so that you can put in, I'm transferring from this community college and I'm transferring to this university, and it will actually pull up what will transfer to that school. And if we take a look, here's an expanded list of the features in ARTSIS. You can put a course in there. For example, if I put in there, I'm transferring from PG Community College to UMBC, I could put in transferring from and then to. And then I can type in a specific course, and it will let me see what that course would transfer in as at UMBC. Okay. You can look up whole transfer programs, like a whole major, to see all of what PG Community College has that will transfer into that particular major. These are the two functions that I actually use the most. The others, they can be useful. I don't think I've ever used transcript evaluation, but you can search for majors at a particular school. You can search for participating institutions. You can do a keyword search. Now, ARTSIS can be a great tool, but it does have a drawback. One of the drawbacks to ARTSIS is, like I said, each institution is responsible to maintain their information. And sometimes they fall behind a little bit. So the data you find, it may not always be the most up-to-date data available. And that's just, just being completely transparent with you guys. I went into ARTSIS a week ago for a student, and we looked up a particular program. I believe it was at Bowie, and the program information that was in there was from 2016, which is 4 years old. And a lot can change in 4 years. So we just proceeded from there to go to the college's website. But I did want you guys to be aware that the tool is there. If the information is that it is in date, if it's up to date, it can be extremely useful. Okay, so and then I wanted to throw in, now this is a magnificent tool. I don't know if my girls, if either one of you have used this one, but UMD College Park has got its own transfer course database. They do a very good job of keeping this database up to date. And I mean, it is loaded with information. It will let you know how you put in Prince George's Community College from a drop down, and it will pull up every course that can transfer from PG to that school. It'll even give you a date to let you know if the information is still relevant, or if it's been replaced by new information. So I really want to highlight this one because I think of all the college databases I've seen, this one is a very complete one.
Mhm. Excellent. Well, before we go to our next topic, Anna and Tashika, I'd like to ask you, when you were thinking about transferring and planning out your degree path and everything, what are some of the resources that you used? Either websites or human resources, right? Talking to people. What did you do to help prepare yourself to transfer?
So I definitely made use of both of these websites. I did notice that for the artsies, I don't know how to pronounce it, for that one, I also noticed that some things are slightly out of date, which concerned me. So I did find that this one, especially since I was going to University of Maryland, it was a lot more helpful with, like, I guess, reassuring me that I was taking the right courses and that it would transfer over. Another thing I did was go to multiple advisors. Like, they were probably tired of seeing my face with how often I spoke to them, just to make sure that I was doing things right. Plus, I think, like, it's very common for people to make mistakes. So I think going to more than even just one advisor, just to kind of make sure that you're getting more than one eye on your schedule, and making sure that everything will transfer over and that you won't be in any kind of hassle when you're actually trying to do the transfer process.
So I did use the first one, the artsy one. I wasn't able to use the UMD College Park one, but I did realize that artsy was somewhat helpful, but like Anna said, a little bit outdated. So, courses change all the time. So basically I kind of used it a little bit, but I didn't really use it as much as I wanted to. Um, Also, there's this guy with a table at PG who uh, really promoted UMGC a lot. And I kind of went to him and I asked him a few questions and he kind of shared with me. So just being able to have people that are experts within their schools, like actually going to the schools and speaking with their advisors just to see how the transfer works, and even how they treat PG students, just to see what the connection is, just to know that, okay, well, they're comfortable with community college students and they welcome them. So you want to feel welcome. So speaking with every advisor that is aware of the school you want to go to and just aware of the courses you take is pretty helpful.
And please know that all of the people who, the human resources, they're all still available virtually. So even though Wyatt, the gentleman Tashika was speaking about, even though Wyatt isn't sitting in the hallway at PGCC right now, he's absolutely still available virtually to help students in thinking about the transferability of their courses. So.
That's great. Thanks, ladies. Good information. Okay. So I did stumble across this database, and I mean recently. UMBC also has a great database. Theirs is set up a little bit differently from UMD, but basically you can input the courses that you've taken at PG Community College, and you choose the major that, or the majors, you can choose more than one that you're looking at their school, and they will show you how those courses would plug in to each of those majors. So be aware UMBC has also got a very nice transfer database too. Okay, so we're going to take a look at out-of-state and private institutions. Now, when we say out of state, that's pretty self-explanatory, but when we say private, it could be a school right here in Maryland, but it's not a public university. I was made aware that they do receive some state funds, but private institutions, their funding is primarily from people, endowments, donations. Some of them are very well endowed, in terms of getting lots of funding. So the recommendations for the out-of-state and privates is pretty much the same for the most part. You want to locate and check the degree requirements for your intended major. Try to take courses that are similar in description and credit value. Okay. Now description can be tricky sometimes. For example, our English class is in EGL 1010. But I've seen some other schools where the English course was not even called English. It was called writing something or other. Okay. And so you might have to do a little digging but you want to look at the descriptions and also pay attention to credit value. Because if you take a course here that is worth 1 credit, it usually will not transfer to fulfill a requirement that's 3 credits. Okay, if that makes sense. A 1 credit course is not going to fulfill a 3 credit course requirement. Okay. And I mentioned this before, there's a difference between a course being accepted for transfer and a course actually fulfilling degree requirements. Okay, and we're going to look at that in a little more detail. Any course that does not fulfill a degree requirement, it may become an elective. Meaning, now if it becomes an elective, it still may contribute to what you need to fulfill, to fulfill a degree. But sometimes it's just an extra course. It won't contribute to the degree. It'll show on the transcript, but it's just like, the cheese stands alone in a sense. It's just not contributing anything. And hopefully, that won't happen to you much. Okay, so let's look at these examples. I'm trying to transfer accounting 1000 into an engineering degree. Okay, so the school actually accepts the course because they have a similar course that this will substitute for. But because accounting has nothing to do with engineering, it's not a part of the requirements. So it just sits on the transcript and doesn't really help me. Okay, but let's look at this one. I'm transferring English 1010, which is Composition 1, Expository Writing. This course would transfer because even engineering has general education requirements and it fulfills one of them. Okay, so we want you guys to be in the green as much as possible if you can help it. Okay, so on this screen, I just put in some key search phrases that can be good. You're going to find there is just no continuity. When it comes to college websites, they can be set up so many different ways. And it can be hard sometimes to actually find information. I love UMD, but that website can make me sweat sometimes because it's massive and it can be hard to find information. And I know I'm taking them out of order, but this last bullet, I want to jump on that real quick. Many universities are made up of schools. For example, UMD School of Business, UMD School of Health Sciences, School of Engineering. Okay, and some schools, some universities, you have to go to their website, locate the school that your intended major would fall under, and then go to that school's page and then locate the major and then locate the degree requirements, because sometimes the major is listed and you still got to dig some more to find the degree requirements. Okay, so I just want you guys to be aware, but don't stop digging and don't give up. You got to be like Sherlock, like my little guy up here in the corner. Okay, you may want to search on academic programs, degree requirements, or college catalog. Now I'm about to date myself, but years ago, every school had a big old thick book called a college catalog. And in that catalog, they listed every program they offer, every course that made up each program. And then they had a section that gave you a course description on every course. They had all of their academic policies in there. Everything was in that little thick Bible-like book. Well, most schools don't print that book anymore. They've got it all online. And when you go to their website, you can search for college catalog, and it's almost like a little section off to itself with a whole different look and feel to it. And then you can find the degree program in that catalog, and it'll list every course requirement. Okay. Some other schools I've seen, you have to look up core requirements. There may be a grouping of majors. Let's say everyone in any engineering major has to take the core courses, and in the core you will find the general education courses. Okay, and sometimes they tuck the core away in one place and they put all the major requirements in another place. So you may want to search on core requirements to find those gen eds, that we keep talking about. Okay. And I put an example in here. Here's a sample page from Washington Adventist University. This is a local private institution. It's right over in Montgomery County. And this is their page for their Bachelor of Science in Health Science. Now notice it's not all pretty like the main website would be, because it's inside of a catalog, their catalog. Okay, but it lists required cognates, which is just basically a grouping of science and math courses that are required. And it even lets you know how many credits in that degree, that come from that. Here's the general education courses, and then here are the health science core curriculum courses. So you would be looking at these, and kind of trying to find something that's as similar as possible to what we're offering here. And then here's another page, a sample from University of Delaware. Notice theirs is set up totally different. They're giving you a sequence. Here's what's recommended for a freshman year. Okay, and I really like this setup because it takes all of the guesswork out of it. You guys know you'll be transferring in as freshmen, so you would probably taking a good look at what's listed here, and maybe the sophomore year list too. Okay. And then we get to what the ladies were talking about, which is contact a transfer admissions representative at your target institution. During this COVID era we've got going on now, phone calls, chat, and email. They may offer all three. Okay, so don't be shy about reaching out for help, asking for course recommendations, asking about acceptance of credits that you've already taken. And then here, this last one I really like. The more Prince George's Community College students that have transferred to a school, that means the more transfer data they're going to have on hand about what they take from us. Okay. And I put some examples here. You got your Howard University, which is technically out of state, but it's right across the way. They get a lot of students from Prince George's Community College. The same is true of Stevenson University, which is right here in Maryland, and Delaware State, which is in a neighboring state. It's an HBCU. They get a lot of Prince George's Community College students too. Because they get so many, those schools may actually be able to tell you right down to the course ID numbers what they recommend that you take. Okay. But if you're going to my friends over in Hawaii, or maybe a Canadian school, or maybe a school in Minnesota, they may not know as much about Prince George's Community College. So their recommendations would be a lot more general, if you were to speak to them, because they've had very few students transfer. Okay. And so just to kind of give you an overview of the steps, decide on your possible target schools. You guys can be doing that now, actually. And you should be thinking about it now. You should be visiting college websites, thinking about where you might want to go. Um, Check the recommended course list provided by Prince George's Community College. We've got popular course lists now. They revamped them and they have them listed by major. So I think that's awesome. You want to check that out because we give you recommendations. And then check for transferability information for in-state schools. We talk about going to the site, checking ARSIS, any transfer databases. Out-of-state schools, visit the school's website. There may be some out-of-state schools that also have transfer databases, and contact those representatives with your questions. Okay, and just some final tips. Remember, guys, do your best in these Prince George's Community College classes because most schools, they want to see your better. The D grades, they may get by every now and then, but you really want your grades to be C or better. I won't beat you up with this one again. We've talked about admissions representatives, talking with them. There are some schools out there. Once you're done with everything, you're shopping around for a college. There's some schools that will give you an unofficial credit evaluation report. If you just apply, you can send them an unofficial transcript. They'll evaluate it and tell you this is what we'll take. Okay, and I do know that UMGC is a school that will actually provide that for you. If you plan to attend an out-of-state institution, a school that very few of our students have transferred to, they may say, okay, so you've taken this intro to information technology class. Well, we've never had anyone from that school transfer in this class. So we would like for you to provide a course description and a syllabus. Okay. And a lot of students I speak with are like, I don't have a syllabus. Who do I get a syllabus from? You know, and then you get into tracking down professors and department chairs. So I've started telling my students, save copies of your PGCC course syllabi, print it out, save it, or, you know, even if you don't print it out, you know, make an electronic copy, keep it in a folder somewhere, because a new institution may ask you for it, you know, and they want to read it so that they can compare it to their course to decide yes or no, will you get the credit? So, okay, so I believe this is my final slide, and let me just open things up a little bit.
No problem. I was going to ask our two students, Anna and Tashika, if you wouldn't mind sharing any tips or any experience that you had going from dual enrollment into you guys decided to stay at PGCC before you transferred. But any tips about dual enrollment, about college, about transfer, anything additional that you would like to share with our attendees?
Yeah, so one thing that I think is important is also, as Ms. Williams mentioned, like keeping track of those syllabi and like what courses you've taken now, because I actually had the like craziest situation happen to me when I transferred to University of Maryland. So there was one class that like somehow I didn't realize I needed to get into the communication school. So I got into UMD, but then I had to apply into my major. And I didn't have that course, but I just went and I spoke to the communication department directly and kind of explained that PG didn't have the equivalent for that course, but I gave them my transcript information. I told them what classes I did take. And since my GPA was above a 3.5, the head of the department said that she would just let me into the major and I could just take that required course as a comm major student. So that was like great, and I wouldn't have like gotten into the major if I didn't like go ahead and ask anyway. And then what was really funny was like a few weeks after I got into the major, she had emailed me again saying that she had gone through the classes that I gave her, and now like just this semester, they started accepting comm theory as comm 250 at UMD. Like they didn't accept that as an equivalent before, but they did this semester. So I was like, dang, I kind of did that. I'm not saying I did,
Anna,
I kind of did.
Way for everyone. I love it.
I was like, I kind of did that, but whatever.
Thank you, Anna.
So yeah, it's just like talking to people because they'll be super understanding, and also just realizing like if there is a situation like that, being prepared for it. Like maybe you have to take a summer course at the university that you want to go to in order to have that before you get into the school, because if you're trying to go during your junior year, you would kind of already want to be in the major, like accepted into your major, because if not, and you already have all your gen ed courses, there's not going to be a lot of options for what you can take.
Thank you, Anna. Tashika, do you have any additional tips for our students listening in?
Yes, I do. A few tips. I do have. The first one, even before I transferred, I realized that speaking with different advisors can give you just an understanding of what you want to do, especially with like having courses. Sometimes when you take easier courses before you're like before your major gets in deeper and more in depth, sometimes they would recommend you take some courses like psychology with a biology course, or a writing course with another science, or if you're trying to do nursing. So sometimes you also have to realize like if you can manage, and just asking your advisor if that's something that they recommend, like should I take microbiology in this course together or whatever it is. And it doesn't make you weak to not want to do both. Sometimes you want to just take one course and take your time with it. So I do recommend, if it's something to just ease into, if you don't feel comfortable yet, just try to take courses where you can. I also, just have like a whole bunch of options with college, because even though you have your dream school, sometimes your dream school doesn't make it. Sometimes things happen. So
That's
just
true.
literally the college that you think you'll never go to, you might end up going, or you might end up having some sort of interest, and it might be the best decision you've ever made. So yeah, those are a few tips.
Thank you, ladies.
Good
Well, Ms.
stuff.
Williams, do you want to go forward? Thank you, thank you. Do you want to go forward one more slide to show your contact information?
Oh, yes. Sorry
Um,
about that.
Problem.
Okay, so yes, here's my contact information. I can be reached at dualadvising@pgcc.edu. I am available for Navigate appointments. Now, when we say Navigate, you can access Navigate at pgcc.edu. There's a link at the top of the page. And we also have a Navigate student app. You can download the app. And these items here, this is what you would put in. The care unit is academic and career advising. The location is virtual. The services is dual. You would select dual enrollment, and then it will show availability for me because I'm the only advisor handling dual enrollment. Um, when you get into Navigate, it does ask you some preliminary questions first, so you answer those, and then you'll get into the scheduling piece. So I did want you guys to know that I am here as a resource as well to help you if you're thinking about transfer.
Yes, thank you. So just so you all know, your COAST coordinator or your PGCC representative who is at your high school or assisting with your high school, they are your best person to talk to first when you're thinking about dual enrollment. So I pasted in the chat the website pgcc.edu/COAST. You can talk to them first about your interest in dual enrollment, what courses you might be eligible for. Now, if you have some specific questions in mind about wanting to transfer to a specific institution, or is something a little bit more in depth, that is when you would reach out to Ms. Williams for a little bit more of that in-depth conversation. And those Navigate appointments, you do have to already have a PGCC account to use that Navigate system. So if you don't have one yet, you can email her. And then once you do get a PGCC account, you'll be able to make appointments with her from here on out. But like I said, your COAST coordinator or your PGCC dual enrollment representative is your sort of first go-to person, and then Ms. Williams is your next go-to for some higher level transfer type questions. But I want to real quick thank everybody for coming. We do have a survey. We have an evaluation that should only take about a moment that we would like for you to complete. I posted it in the chat. It is that bit.ly link. And I'll post it again real quick for you. But we would love for you to let us know how we did. That evaluation is for both the general session as well as this session. So go ahead and please fill that out. Click on the link now and get it pulled up before we end the webinar. We would love to hear how we did so we know how to improve in the future. We promise we listen. That's part of the reason why we're here with the breakout sessions, is people wanted more information about transferring and other things like that. So please let us know how we did by clicking that link and filling out the evaluation. We're hoping to be able to share the recording of this session later. We will definitely do our best to share the slides too. Check our website for updates, that dual enrollment webpage online. It's just pgcc.edu/go/high school. And if you think of a question that you weren't able to ask this evening, either via the Q&A or the chat, feel free to reach us via our website. We're always here to help. Like we said, we're here virtually, so we're available for email, appointments, phone calls, however you can reach us virtually. We're happy to assist. And I want to give a huge shout out to Anna and Tashika. Thank you so much for coming back and being with us here, ladies. Thank you, Ms. Williams, for your wonderful presentation. And thank you, Mr. Young, our wonderful classroom and event technology support person who is here running the webinar. But I think that is it for us. Again, thank you, students, parents, family members for coming out. Have a wonderful evening.